She doesn't remember when the running started. Only the sound. Boots crushing snow. Branches snapping. Wolves howling her name like a sentence already passed. She is running barefoot through a freezing pine forest, lungs burning, breath tearing out of her chest in ragged clouds. The snow is not soft. It is sharp. It bites the soles of her feet, slices between her toes, stains red where she steps. Blood drips warm from the wound at her ribs, soaking into the white ground like proof that she is still human enough to bleed. Behind her, they are gaining. Not wild wolves. Pack enforcers. Trained. Loyal. Merciless. The wind howls through the trees, low and furious, and it sounds like an accusation. Like judgment. Like the whole forest already knows what she is. Her wolf thrashes inside her, clawing at bone and muscle, desperate to break free. Silver light flickers beneath her skin, just for a second, glowing faint through the thin fabric of her torn dress. She feels it there, that power, ancient, dangerous, waiting. Shift, she whispers to herself, voice shaking. Please, shift. She reaches for it. And hits a wall. Nothing. It's like someone has wrapped chains around her wolf. Around her heart. The silver light flickers again, then fades, leaving her cold and small and terribly alone inside her own body. A branch whips across her face. She stumbles but keeps moving. Behind her, a voice cuts through the storm. Bring her to the Alpha. Alive. Alive. Not safe. Not forgiven. Alive. Her chest tightens. She pushes harder, ignoring the way her ribs scream with every step. The forest thickens, trees crowding closer, branches clawing at her hair, as if even they want to drag her back. She knows what waits at the end of this chase. Judgment. Punishment. Maybe worse. Her foot catches on a buried root. She falls. Hard. The impact knocks the air from her lungs. Snow explodes around her, icy crystals biting into her cheek as she tries to breathe. For a moment she can't move. Her body feels too heavy. Her wolf goes silent inside her, as if even it has given up. The footsteps stop. Silence drops like a blade. Slowly, painfully, she lifts her head. Boots step into her line of sight. Black leather. Clean. Unhurried. Not running. Never running. A massive shadow falls over her, blocking out what little moonlight slips through the storm clouds. The air changes around him, thick, charged, heavy with something that makes the wolves behind her lower their heads without being told. She feels him before she sees him. Power. Control. Danger wrapped in stillness. Enough? His voice is deep. Not loud. He doesn't need to be. It moves through the forest like a command the trees themselves obey. Her breath catches. Slowly, she looks up. He stands tall against the storm, dark coat whipping around him, snow settling on his broad shoulders like he is carved from the night itself. His jaw is sharp, expression unreadable. But his eyes burn gold. Not wild. Not confused. Focused. On her. She feels exposed under that gaze. Not just her torn dress, or the blood at her side. He sees more than that. It feels like he's looking straight through her skin, past her fear, into the part of her she's spent her whole life trying to hide. The silver mark at her collarbone begins to sting. He notices. Of course he notices. The enforcers behind him shift uneasily, waiting for his order. Waiting to drag her back in chains. But he doesn't look at them. He takes one step closer. She tries to push herself backward, but her strength is gone. The snow gives way beneath her palms. Please, she whispers, though she doesn't even know what she's asking for. Mercy. Time. A miracle. His expression doesn't soften. But something in his eyes flickers. Recognition. I've been looking for you, he says quietly. Her heart stops. She never told him her name. She never told anyone where she ran. Yet here he is. Not surprised. Not confused. Certain. The wind rises again, tearing through the trees like it wants to scatter this moment. Her wolf stirs faintly inside her, not in fear this time, but in awareness. As if it knows him. As if it has been waiting. He crouches down, bringing himself closer to her level, and for the first time she sees the tension in his jaw. The restraint. Like he's holding back something powerful and dangerous behind that calm exterior. You shouldn't have run, he says. And the words don't sound like anger. They sound like inevitability. If your heart is already racing, if you can feel the cold in your bones and the fear in her chest, then you already know this isn't a soft love story. This is the kind that bites. So subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Because the ones who stay, the ones who don't look away, they are the ones brave enough to face what comes next. And if you're still watching but not subscribed, tell me something. Why are you still running from the story that's already caught you? Why are you still running from the story that's already caught you? Because she isn't running anymore. She can't. The alpha steps forward, slow and deliberate, every movement measured like he's walking into a negotiation instead of a storm. Up close, he's even more overwhelming. Taller than she expected. Broader. Controlled in a way that makes the air around him feel disciplined. Lethal, but leashed. His scent reaches her before his hands do, cedar wood and smoke, clean and steady, layered with something darker underneath. It shouldn't comfort her. It does. His eyes glow faint gold as he looks down at her, not at the blood on her ribs, not at the torn hem of her dress, at her face. Studying. Assessing. Then he says her name. Softly. Clearly. She freezes. Her breath stops halfway in her throat. The forest feels smaller. Closer. She never told him her name. She hasn't spoken it out loud in months. The enforcers shift behind him, restless, waiting for orders. Waiting to drag her up by her arms like prey finally cornered. He doesn't look away from her when he speaks. Stand down. 2 words. That's all it takes. The men behind him hesitate, just for a second, then lower their heads and step back. Obedient. Tense. Confused. He is their alpha. And right now, he is choosing her. She doesn't understand why. He bends and slides one arm beneath her knees, the other behind her back. He lifts her effortlessly, like she weighs nothing at all. The sudden closeness knocks the air from her lungs. Her body tenses instinctively. Put me down, she says, but it comes out weak, almost hoarse. She struggles anyway, pushing against his chest, but her strength is draining fast. The wound at her ribs throbs with every movement. He doesn't tighten his grip. He doesn't loosen it either. He just looks down at her, eyes steady, unreadable. Then he leans closer, his mouth near her ear. His voice drops, low enough that only she can hear. I've been looking for you. The words are not triumphant. They are not gentle. They are certain. She expects cruelty. Expects the grip to bruise. Expects to feel like a prisoner. Instead, she feels something worse. Calculation. He isn't reacting. He's executing a plan. Her heart begins to pound for a different reason now. Not just fear. Strategy. She studies his face in the dim moonlight. There's no mockery there. No visible hunger for power. But there is intent. He turns without another word and carries her through the forest. The enforcers fall into formation behind him, silent as shadows. Snow crunches under his boots in a slow, even rhythm. He doesn't rush. He doesn't need to. She's no longer escaping. The trees thin, revealing iron gates carved with the crest of his pack. Wolves intertwined beneath a rising moon. The gates open before he reaches them. His estate rises beyond, not a crude fortress, but a sprawling structure of stone and dark wood, windows glowing warm against the night. It looks lived in. Strong. Rooted. Not the kind of place where prisoners disappear. That almost unsettles her more. Inside, the air is warmer. Firelight flickers along the walls. The scent of smoke and pine lingers here too, his scent, embedded into the very structure. Wolves move through the halls. They stop when they see her in his arms. Eyes widen. Whispers start. He doesn't explain. He doesn't slow. He walks past the main staircase. Past the council wing. Past the lower quarters. Up. Higher. To the private level. Her pulse quickens again. This isn't necessary, she says, forcing strength into her voice. You could have just locked me up. His jaw tightens slightly at that. I could have, he agrees. That's all he says. He pushes open a heavy wooden door at the end of the corridor. She expects iron bars. Chains. A cold stone floor. Instead, she sees his room. Large. Dimly lit. Fire burning low in the hearth. Dark sheets pulled tight over a wide bed. The space feels personal. Not decorative. Not staged. Real. He carries her inside and kicks the door shut behind him. Her heartbeat roars in her ears. He crosses to the bed. Her stomach drops. He lowers her onto the mattress carefully, one hand still braced behind her back to keep her upright. The sheets are warm from the fire. Soft against her frozen skin. She stares up at him. You're making a mistake, she whispers. His golden eyes search hers, intense but not unkind. No, he says quietly. I'm correcting one. He steps back then, giving her space, but not distance. Not safety. She pulls herself up slightly on her elbows, wincing as pain flares along her ribs. Her wolf stirs faintly again, not fighting him this time. Watching him. You hunted me, she says. It's not a question. Yes. You chased me across territory lines. Yes. Why? Silence stretches between them. The fire cracks softly in the hearth. He moves to the edge of the bed, not touching her, but close enough that she can feel the heat of him. Because, he says slowly, you were never meant to belong to them. The words hit harder than the cold ever did. Belong? She doesn't know what frightens her more. The idea that he's lying. Or the possibility that he isn't. Or the possibility that he isn't. The fire burns low as silence settles between them, thick and charged. He watches her like he's waiting for something, not an answer, not a confession. A reaction. She looks away first. Because belonging has always come with a price. Her fingers drift to her collarbone, to the place that always feels warm even in winter. The crescent-shaped mark rests there, faint but unmistakable. A flame curved like the edge of a rising moon. She closes her eyes, and memory drags her under. She is 5 years old, standing barefoot in the dirt courtyard of her old pack's territory. The sky is wrong that night, dark even though the moon should be full. A lunar eclipse swallowing the light whole. The elders whisper, as her mother holds her tightly. Born under shadow, someone mutters. The air smells like fear. Back in the present, her hand trembles slightly against her skin. She was always different. At 10, the other children wouldn't play with her. Not because she was cruel. Not because she was weak. Because strange things happened around her. Candles flickered when she walked by. Snow melted too fast beneath her feet. At 13, the elders began watching her. At 16, they started fearing her. She remembers the night of her first shift with brutal clarity. The moon was clear then. Bright. Merciless. Her body had shaken with the pressure of it, bones aching, skin burning from the inside. She thought it would feel freeing. It didn't. It felt like fire tearing through her veins. When she shifted, it wasn't fur and muscle alone that erupted from her skin. It was light. Blinding silver light. The trees around her caught fire. Not orange and red, but white. Clean. Devouring. The forest screamed as it burned, and the pack screamed louder. They had to drag her unconscious body away from the flames. 3 wolves were injured trying to contain it. After that, they stopped calling her by her name. They called her cursed. Silver flame. Forbidden blood. An old story pulled from old bones. Back in the Alpha's chambers, she inhales slowly, trying to steady the rush of shame that still coils inside her ribs. She was 17 when they brought her before the council circle. No tears left. No defense offered. The verdict was spoken calmly. Exile. For the safety of the pack. Her mother couldn't look at her. Her father never came. They didn't chain her. They didn't have to. The rejection was heavier than iron. She walked away alone. The present returns with the soft crackle of the hearth. She opens her eyes. Silk sheets beneath her palms. A carved wooden ceiling above. The Alpha's scent wrapped around her like a quiet storm. This isn't protection. It's containment. She sees it now with painful clarity. The private wing. The guarded doors. The isolation. He didn't throw her in a dungeon because he doesn't want her hidden. He wants her close. Controlled. Studied. Her jaw tightens. Of course he does. An alpha doesn't chase something powerful just to set it free. She shifts carefully on the bed, testing her strength. Her ribs protest. Her wolf stirs faintly but doesn't surge. Still blocked. Still restrained by something she can't see. A knock doesn't come. He doesn't ask permission. The door opens quietly. Her body goes rigid as he steps inside. He has removed his coat. The firelight catches along the hard lines of his shoulders, the steady rise and fall of his chest. He looks less like a commander now and more like a man who hasn't slept enough. But his eyes lock onto her instantly. Her wolf reacts. Not violently. Not defensively. It goes still. Completely still. The frantic scratching at her insides quiets like a storm that has suddenly found its center. No thrashing. No desperate push to break free. Recognition. The realization hits her slowly, unsettling and intimate. Her wolf knows him. She feels it in the way her pulse steadies despite herself. In the way her breathing evens out when he steps closer. Every instinct she has ever relied on is not screaming danger. It is listening. He notices the shift in her posture. The subtle change in tension. His gaze sharpens, but not in suspicion. In understanding. "You're remembering," he says quietly. It isn't a question. Her throat tightens. "You knew what I was before you found me." "Yes." "And you still brought me here." "Yes." She searches his face for disgust. For fear. For the same judgment she saw in her old pack's eyes. She finds none. What she finds is something more complicated. Resolve. "You think you can control it," she says. Not accusing. Just stating what feels obvious. His jaw flexes slightly. "No." The honesty catches her off guard. "I think," he continues, voice low, "that they were wrong about you." Her chest aches in a way her wound cannot explain. "They weren't," she whispers. "You didn't see what I did. I've seen worse. You didn't lose anyone." A flicker crosses his face then, fast, contained, but real. "You don't know what I've lost." Silence settles again, but this time it's different. Less sharp. More fragile. She looks down at her hands. At the faint shimmer beneath her skin that never fully disappears. "I ruin things," she says. It's not dramatic. It's exhausted. He steps closer to the edge of the bed, close enough that she can feel his warmth again. "Then why," he asks quietly, "does your wolf calm down when I walk into the room?" Her breath falters. "Because it's true." Her wolf is quiet. Not in fear. Not in submission. In recognition. And that is far more dangerous than either of them are ready to admit. And that is far more dangerous than either of them are ready to admit. He doesn't argue with her again. He doesn't try to convince her with soft words or empty reassurances. Instead, he says, "Come with me." It isn't a command. But it isn't optional either. The corridors are quiet at this hour. Torches burn low against stone walls as he leads her past the private wing, past the main staircase, toward a narrow passage she hadn't noticed before. Her steps are slower now, ribs wrapped tight in clean bandages, but she refuses his help when his hand hovers near her back. She will not look weak in front of him. The passage slopes downward, air growing cooler with every step. The scent of earth replaces smoke and cedar. Something older breathes beneath the estate, something buried on purpose. A heavy iron door waits at the bottom. He presses his palm to the center. The metal hums. It opens. The chamber beyond steals the air from her lungs. It's vast, carved directly into the rock beneath the estate. The walls are covered in ancient wolf symbols, etched deep and precise. Not decorative. Ritualistic. Lines of history layered over each other, as if generations have come here to carve their belief into stone. Silver inlays run through the walls like veins. At the center stands a stone altar. Dark. Massive. Etched with the same crescent flame that burns on her collarbone. Her pulse spikes. "This is older than your pack," she says quietly. "It is," he answers. She steps closer to the altar before she can stop herself. The air feels different here, charged, expectant. Like the room has been waiting. Her mark begins to sting. Not painfully. Awakening. She grips the edge of the altar as warmth spreads across her collarbone. The crescent flame glows faintly beneath her skin, silver light pushing through fabric. The chamber responds. The veins in the stone walls shimmer. A low vibration hums beneath her feet. What is this place, she whispers, though part of her already knows. Sanctuary, he says. And judgment. Footsteps echo behind them. She turns sharply. An elder enters the chamber, older than the ones she remembers from her pack. His hair white, his posture bent but steady. His eyes lock onto her instantly, and something like relief flickers across his face. Not fear. Not disgust. Recognition. He approaches slowly, gaze fixed on the glow at her collarbone. The one with the mark has returned, he murmurs. The words slide into her chest like a key turning in a lock she didn't know existed. No, she says quickly. You're mistaken. The elder shakes his head gently. Born under eclipse. Flame that burns silver. Bloodline thought extinguished. Her stomach twists. She looks at the Alpha. He doesn't look surprised. You knew, she breathes. Yes. The single word lands heavier than any accusation. The elder circles her slowly, careful, reverent. There was a legend, he continues. A wolf born of flame who would rise when the packs fracture beyond repair. She laughs once, sharp and humorless. That's every generation. This one is different. The silver veins in the altar pulse brighter. The prophecy does not speak of power alone, the elder says. It speaks of choice. Her throat tightens. A wolf born of flame will either unite the packs, or reduce them to ash. The words echo through the chamber, not loud, but absolute. Silence follows. Her heartbeat pounds in her ears. Unite them. Or destroy them. There is no middle ground in that sentence. No gentle path. She feels it then, not just the heat at her collarbone, but something deeper. A pull. Like invisible threads tightening around her ribs, tugging her toward something vast and unavoidable. Destiny. She hates the word. Destiny feels like a cage disguised as honor. You hunted me for this, she says, turning to the Alpha. Not because you think I'm innocent. I hunted you, he replies evenly, because others would have killed you. That's not an answer. It's the truth. She steps closer to him despite herself. You wanted to use me. His eyes flash, gold deepening. I wanted to protect what you are. What am I? She demands. The chamber hums louder. He doesn't look away from her when he answers. Mine to protect. The words aren't possessive in the way she expects. They are strategic. Calculated. A claim without softness. Understanding crashes into her. He didn't bring her here to cage her. He brought her here to anchor her power to his rule. To bind prophecy to his name. Not to destroy her. To claim her. The realization burns hotter than the mark on her skin. I am not a weapon, she says, voice trembling with anger and something dangerously close to fear. No, he agrees quietly. You're not. But you think you can control what I become. He steps closer now, close enough that she can see the faint scar along his jaw, the tension he keeps locked behind steady eyes. I think, he says carefully, that if you don't stand at the center of this storm, someone worse will. The words strike deeper than she expects. Because she knows it's true. Her power didn't disappear when her pack exiled her. It followed her. It waited. And if others discover what she is without someone strong enough to shield her, they won't hesitate. The silver light at her collarbone flares suddenly, bright enough to illuminate the chamber fully. The carvings along the walls glow in response, ancient wolves rising in shimmering outline. The elder bows his head. The alpha doesn't. He watches her like he's watching a sunrise he refuses to blink away from. She feels destiny pulling harder now. But all she can think is this. Everything she has ever touched has burned. And if this prophecy is real, then the packs are standing on dry ground. And she is the match. And she is the match. The glow in the shrine fades slowly, but the damage is done. By morning, the estate is humming with it. Not the silver light, the rumor. Walls don't need ears in a pack like this. They have instinct. Scent. Pattern. And last night, the alpha carried a marked female through his private doors. That is enough. By the time she steps into the upper corridor, eyes follow her like thrown stones. Conversations cut off mid-sentence. Shoulders turn. Wolves who would normally bow to their alpha now glance at him with something dangerously close to doubt. She spent the night in his chambers. I smelled her in his bed. He's bewitched. She's manipulating him. She'll burn us all. The words aren't whispered softly. They are sharp. Meant to wound. She keeps her spine straight as she walks beside him, though each step feels heavier than the last. He says nothing. Doesn't slow. Doesn't defend her. His silence is strategic. But it feels isolating. They enter the council hall. Stone columns rise toward a vaulted ceiling etched with pack history. Torches line the walls, flame steady but restless, as if they sense the shift in atmosphere. Elders sit along the curved stone table at the front, their expressions carved from judgment and caution. The room is already full. Waiting. The moment she crosses the threshold, the tension snaps tight. A door slams open behind them. Boots strike stone with unrestrained fury. The rival alpha doesn't wait to be announced. He storms into the hall like a thunderclap, broad-shouldered and seething, flanked by his own guards. His presence is raw power without restraint, muscle and dominance wrapped in barely controlled aggression. His gaze lands on her. Then on the alpha beside her. So it's true, he says, voice echoing off stone. You brought her into your bed. The accusation isn't about desire. It's about allegiance. The alpha remains still. She was injured. You mean you claimed her? A ripple moves through the council. She is not claimed, her alpha says evenly. Yet, the rival replies, sharp. All eyes shift to her. She feels it, the weight of expectation, fear, resentment. The air thickens, pressing against her lungs. She carries silver flame blood. The rival alpha continues, stepping closer to the center of the hall. You think the other packs won't notice. You think they won't assume you're building a weapon. Weapon. The word slices deeper than any claw. She is not a weapon, her alpha says again, but there's steel beneath it now. Then why hide her in your private wing, the rival demands. Why not present her openly? Or are you afraid your wolves will see what you're doing? The torches along the wall flare suddenly, flames stretching higher, as if feeding off the rising emotion. The council begins murmuring. She's unstable. She burned her own territory. The prophecy says destruction, the rival alpha interrupts loudly. A wolf born of flame will reduce the packs to ash. That is only half the legend, the elder from the shrine says quietly. And which half are you betting your people on? The rival snaps. Silence cracks across the room. Then the rival turns directly to her. Tell them, he says coldly. Tell them what happened the night you first shifted. Her throat tightens. Memories flash uninvited, white fire devouring trees, wolves screaming, smoke choking the sky. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. The hesitation is enough. She cannot control it, the rival declares. And you, he turns back to the alpha, would risk every life here because you think you can. The council's focus shifts. It's no longer about her. It's about him. You must choose, one of the elders says carefully. Your people, or the marked one. The words settle like a blade laid between them. Choose your people. Choose her. The alpha's jaw tightens. Not visibly at first, just a subtle flex of muscle beneath skin. His hands remain loose at his sides, but she sees the tension in his shoulders. The calculation. He could denounce her. Distance himself. Say he was investigating a threat. It would calm the room instantly. Instead, he remains silent. And silence, in a room like this, is louder than any declaration. The rival smiles faintly. There it is. You hesitate. Her chest aches. This is what she feared. Not chains. Not exile. But being the fracture point between a leader and his pack. I won't let you divide this territory, the rival continues. Send her away. Or we take this to a vote of no confidence. A dangerous phrase. Challenge. The room shifts. She feels the ground slipping beneath him. And suddenly, the pull of destiny feels selfish. She steps forward before she can stop herself. This isn't his war, she says, voice steady despite the storm in her chest. It's mine. Heads turn. He didn't summon the fire, she continues. I did. I carry the mark. If there's blame to place it on me. The rival's eyes narrow. Gladly. Enough, the alpha says sharply now. But it's too late. The fracture has formed. She looks at him. Really looks. At the tension in his gaze. At the war he's fighting internally, between protecting his pack and protecting her. She knows this pattern. She's lived it before. And she will not be the reason another pack tears itself apart. I'll leave, she says quietly. The words feel like swallowing glass. A murmur ripples through the hall. The alpha turns toward her fully now. No. But she gives him a small, almost imperceptible shake of her head. If he chooses her openly, they will challenge him. If he chooses his people, he betrays something neither of them has named yet. So she chooses for him. To protect your pack, she says softly, only loud enough for him to hear, you can't stand beside me right now. Pain flickers across his face, brief but undeniable. You don't get to decide that, he murmurs. I already did. She steps back. Then another step. No chains this time. Just choice. She turns before she can see whether he moves to stop her. The hall feels colder as she walks toward the doors. Whispers follow. Not cursed this time. Not yet. But afraid. And fear spreads faster than fire. She tells herself she's protecting him. Protecting the pack. But as the doors close behind her and the night air hits her lungs, the truth settles heavy in her chest. She's running again. And this time, it hurts more. She's running again. But this time, there are no enforcers behind her. No shouted orders. No pounding boots. Just the sound of her own breath, and the quiet crack of frozen twigs beneath her feet. The forest outside the territory is still. Snow has stopped falling. The sky has cleared, and the moon hangs full and merciless above her, spilling silver light through bare branches. She doesn't stop until her lungs give out. Then she collapses to her knees in the clearing. For a moment, she just sits there, hands buried in the snow, chest heaving, anger and shame twisting together until she can't tell them apart. Her wolf stirs restlessly inside her. You left. I had to. You ran. I protected him. But the truth feels thinner now that she's alone. She tilts her head back and stares at the moon. The light brushes over her skin, cool and accusing. Shift, she whispers. She closes her eyes and reaches inward, searching for the fire, for the silver pulse beneath her bones. She tries to summon it gently this time. Not force. Not fear. Nothing. Her body trembles as she pushes harder. Come on, she gasps. I know you are there. For a split second, silver flickers under her skin. Hope flares. Then it vanishes. The rejection is worse than the first time. Her shoulders shake, and she presses her palms to her eyes, trying to stop the tears before they fall. But they fall anyway. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just quiet, frustrated grief. I don't know how to be this, she whispers into the cold. A branch shifts behind her. She stiffens instantly, wiping her face with the back of her hand. He steps into the clearing like he belongs there. Moonlight slides over his shoulders, outlining the strength in his frame. His expression is unreadable at first, but his eyes, those steady, gold eyes, take in everything. The dampness on her lashes. The tremor in her hands. The faint shimmer beneath her skin that refuses to hold. He doesn't speak immediately. He just walks toward her. You shouldn't be here, she says, though her voice lacks conviction. I know. He stops a few feet away. Close enough to feel. Far enough not to crowd. She turns away from him, humiliated. I told you to stay with your pack. They are not in danger. You don't know that. I do. There's no arrogance in his tone. Just certainty. She tries again to stand. Her legs wobble. The emotional exhaustion is heavier than any wound. Without a word, he shrugs off his coat and steps closer. He drapes it around her shoulders carefully, the fabric still warm from his body. The scent of cedar and smoke surrounds her again. She should pull away. She doesn't. I don't need you to fix me, she mutters. I'm not trying to. He kneels in front of her, bringing himself to her level. Snow dampens the fabric at his knees, but he doesn't seem to notice. You left, he says quietly. I protected you. I didn't ask you to. She meets his eyes then, anger flashing through the vulnerability. You were going to choose. Yes. And if you chose wrong? His jaw tightens slightly. There wasn't a wrong choice. There was, she insists. There always is. Silence lingers between them, but it isn't sharp this time. It's heavy. Honest. After a moment, he exhales slowly. My father believed in prophecy. The words catch her off guard. She says nothing. He built alliances based on it. Made enemies because of it. Trusted wolves he shouldn't have. His gaze drifts briefly to the trees beyond her shoulder, as if memory stands there. He was killed because someone convinced him fate would protect him. The confession settles into the cold air between them. That's why you don't believe, she says softly. I believe in preparation. In control. In making choices before someone else makes them for you. She swallows. So I'm just another move on the board. His eyes snap back to hers. No. She searches his face for deception. Finds none. Then why me, she whispers. The question isn't angry this time. It's tired. He studies her for a long moment, as if weighing how much truth she can carry tonight. Then he reaches out slowly. His fingers hover near her collarbone before brushing lightly against the crescent mark. The touch is gentle. Careful. Like he's touching something sacred, not dangerous. The contact sends a subtle spark through her skin. Her wolf stills completely. Because I see you, he says quietly. All of you. Not the legend. Not the weapon they are afraid of. His thumb traces the faint curve of the mark, not possessive. Grounding. I see the girl, who was left alone to carry something she never asked for. Her breath falters. No one has ever separated her from the fire before. They've only ever treated her as the flame. His hand drops slowly, but the warmth lingers. You don't get to decide for me, he continues, voice low. If I stand beside you, it's because I choose to. Not because prophecy demands it. Emotion tightens her throat. I ruin things, she whispers again, though the conviction has cracked. Then ruin them with me. The words are quiet. But they hit harder than any declaration. The space between them shifts. She becomes suddenly aware of how close he is. Of the way his breath ghosts across her skin. Of the steady rhythm of his pulse, strong and controlled. He leans in slightly. Not claiming. Asking. Her eyes drop to his mouth, then back to his gaze. The world narrows to the fragile line between them. Snow glows under the moon. The forest holds its breath. She wants to trust him. That's what terrifies her most. Their foreheads nearly touch. And then a howl tears through the night. Not distant. Not friendly. Her body stiffens instantly. His head lifts, eyes sharpening. Another howl answers. Closer. The moment fractures. The storm isn't over. It was only waiting. The storm isn't over. It was only waiting. By the time they return to the territory, the howls have already spread the message. Not an attack. Not yet. A summons. The ritual circle is lit when they arrive. The moon hangs high and unblinking above the clearing, bathing the gathered pack in silver light. Torches ring the stone platform at the center. Every wolf stands in a tight perimeter, tension coiled in their shoulders, eyes tracking her every step beside him. This isn't private anymore. This is judgment. She feels it immediately, the weight of being watched not as a woman, but as a question no one knows how to answer. The alpha steps forward first. His presence quiets the murmurs, but it does not erase them. She stands slightly behind him, not hidden, not shielded. Exposed. The elder raises his staff, striking it once against stone. Tonight, he declares, voice carrying across the clearing, we address the fracture within our territory. Fracture. Her chest tightens. The alpha turns to face the pack. His posture is firm, controlled, the leader they trust. I brought her here because I chose to, he says clearly. And I will not apologize for protecting what others would destroy out of fear. A ripple moves through the crowd. Then he does something she does not expect. He reaches for her hand. Not possessive. Deliberate. A statement. Gasps rise like sparks. I intend, he continues, voice steady, to make a formal mating claim. Shock hits the clearing like a physical force. Some wolves step back. Others bare their teeth in disbelief. Her heart slams against her ribs. He didn't warn her. He didn't ask. But when she looks at him, there is no manipulation in his eyes. Only resolve. The gesture isn't about ownership. It's about alliance. Protection bound in tradition. Before he can finish the declaration, the elder's staff strikes stone again. Harder. There is more, the elder says, voice no longer calm. The clearing stills. The elder unrolls a strip of aged parchment, edges brittle with time. There exists another passage, he says slowly. One not recited for generations. Her stomach drops. The Alpha's grip on her hand tightens slightly. The elder's eyes lift to hers. She will destroy the Alpha who binds her. The words land like a blade sliding between ribs. Silence follows. Then, gasps. Whispers erupt into open panic. She'll kill him. It's in the prophecy. He's condemning himself. Wolves shift partially, claws emerging, teeth flashing in the torchlight. Instinct overrides loyalty. Survival takes shape in fur and bone. She turns to him. Waiting. Waiting for him to dismiss it. To call it manipulation. To reject the twisted interpretation. His jaw tightens. His eyes flick to the elder. To the parchment. Back to her. Just a second. 1 second of hesitation. But in a room charged with fear, 1 second is an eternity. The rival Alpha steps forward from the crowd, voice sharp. You see. Even destiny warns us. The council confers in urgent whispers. She cannot be allowed to bind the Alpha. The risk is too great. She is a threat. Threat. Again. Her hand slips from his grasp. Not because he releases her. Because she does. If it protects you, she begins, but the council cuts her off. Sees her. Silver chains flash in torchlight. She doesn't even see who moves first. Cold metal snaps around her wrists before she can step back. The silver bites instantly, searing her skin like ice and fire at once. A cry tears from her throat despite herself. The metal isn't ordinary. It hums. It suppresses. They drag her toward the stone platform, at the center of the circle. Wolves part, but do not intervene. Some look ashamed. Others look relieved. The Alpha moves. But guards step between them. Stand down, the council orders him. For the safety of the pack. His eyes blaze gold, Wolf pushing close to the surface, but he holds. Because if he shifts now, this becomes civil war. She sees the war in him. And she hates that she's the cause. They force her to her knees on the ritual stone. The silver veins etched into its surface begin to glow faintly as her mark reacts. Pain spikes through her collarbone, sharp and electric. Draw it out, someone commands. If she cannot control it, we will contain it. The chains tighten. Energy surges through the metal, forcing against her wolf, prying at it, trying to rip the power from her body like something poisonous. She screams. Not delicate. Not restrained. Raw. The world narrows to pain. Her vision blurs. But beneath the agony, something else awakens. Not fear. Not shame. Rage. Ancient and vast. They are not containing her. They are provoking her. The mark on her collarbone ignites fully now, silver light bursting through fabric, illuminating the clearing. The chains vibrate violently, unable to decide whether to bind or conduct. Her eyes snap open. No longer their usual color. Silver. Blinding. The ground trembles. Wolves stumble back, as a pulse of energy explodes outward from her body. The torches flare high, flames turning white at their tips. The alpha shouts her name, but his voice is swallowed by the raw building inside her chest. She feels every rejection, every exile, every whispered curse. They tried to cage her. They tried to extract her power like it was a disease. The chains crack, then shatter. Fragments of silver scatter across stone as a shockwave blasts outward, knocking wolves off their feet. The ritual circle fractures beneath her knees, cracks splitting through ancient carvings. She rises slowly. Not fully shifted. Not fully human. Light pours from her skin, silver and blinding, curling like flame around her limbs. The council stares in horror. The rival alpha backs away. And the alpha. He does not move. He watches her like he knew this moment would come. The power surges higher, wild and uncontrolled, spiraling beyond her ability to contain it. She meets his eyes one last time. Pain. Understanding. And something that might have been love. Then the explosion comes. Light consumes the clearing. When it fades, she is gone. No chains. No ritual stone. No marked wolf kneeling at their mercy. Only scorched earth. And the echo of a prophecy that has just begun to wake. The ground splits with a sound like bone torn from bone. Silver fire veins through the courtyard, racing along cracks in the stone, seeping into the roots of the ancient trees that border the estate. Wolves stumble back, claws scraping for balance. The air tastes metallic, charged, alive. She stands at the center of it, no longer just a girl with a mark, no longer a hunted omen. Molten light pours from her fur in slow, breathing waves. Smoke coils around her massive silver form, not black, not grey, bright as moonlit frost. Her eyes burn like twin stars dragged too close to earth. The rival alpha's body hits the ground at her feet, defeated but not yet dead, his arrogance finally stripped from his face. He stares up at her, as if he's glimpsed something he was never meant to see. But she isn't looking at him. She's looking at the shrine. Beneath the fractured courtyard stones, ancient runes blaze awake, circles within circles, etched deeper than memory. The estate was never just a home. It was a seal. And she just broke it. A low vibration hums from the earth, not a sound heard with ears, but felt in marrow. Older than the pack. Older than prophecy. Older than the first alpha, who ever claimed dominion over this land. The ancestor voices that once whispered now recoil. Not in guidance. In warning. The alpha, bleeding, one knee pressed to the ground where he shielded the child, forces himself upright. His chest is soaked crimson, his breathing ragged, but his eyes are clear now. No hesitation. No counsel. No prophecy twisting his spine. Only her. He sees the tremor in her stance beneath the brilliance. The flicker of fear buried under power. She didn't just defeat an enemy. She unlocked something. The earth bucks violently. A fissure splits open between her and the fallen rival alpha, swallowing him into darkness before he can even scream. The runes pulse faster, brighter, until the entire courtyard glows like a second sky laid beneath their feet. She inhales sharply. And the silver fire surges higher. The wolves around her drop to their knees, not in command, not in ritual, but because their bodies cannot remain standing in the presence of that force. Fur bristles. Instinct screams submission. Even the elders stare in naked terror. She never wanted this. Power answers her fear with more power. The shrine beneath the estate cracks fully open, revealing a hollow carved deep into the bedrock. At its center, something bound in chains of blackened iron, carved with the same symbols that now blaze in silver above. The seal was never meant to contain her. It was meant to contain that. A pulse of darkness shoots upward, colliding with her light midair. The impact detonates in a shockwave that flattens trees and shatters windows. Wolves cry out. Fire leaps higher along the estate walls. She staggers. For the first time since returning, her control falters. The molten edges of her form flicker erratically, flame snapping outward in wild arcs. The voices of the ancestors grow chaotic, overlapping, some urging restraint, others urging conquest, some whispering surrender to what wakes below. Her claws dig into stone. She fights to anchor herself. I am not your sacrifice, she had said. But the thing beneath the shrine laughs without sound. The Alpha forces himself forward despite the blood loss, each step an act of defiance against his failing body. Heat scorches his skin as he approaches her blazing form. Look at me, he commands, not as Alpha, not as ruler. As the man who knelt beside her in the snow. Her head turns. The silver inferno dims just enough for their eyes to meet through the storm of smoke. You're losing yourself, he says, voice raw but unbroken. Her chest heaves. The power inside her claws at her ribs, demanding release, demanding dominion. It shows her visions in flashes, packs bowing, enemies incinerated, the old order burned clean. It tempts her with control. The very thing he once claimed to believe in. The ground splits wider. The black chains below begin to snap, one by one, each break echoing like a death knell. If the seal fully shatters, whatever sleeps beneath will rise through her power, using her flame as its doorway. She didn't awaken it by accident. It responded to her blood. The mark at her shoulder blazes brighter than the moon overhead. She drops to one knee, claws gouging trenches through stone as she battles the surge tearing through her veins. Light explodes outward in violent pulses, forcing everyone back, everyone except him. He reaches her. Wraps blood-slick fingers into the smoke at her neck. It burns. He doesn't let go. Trust me, he breathes, the same words from the forest, but stripped of softness now. This is not romance. This is war between who she is and what she could become. The darkness below surges upward again, tendrils of shadow lashing toward her blazing form. Or leave, he adds hoarsely. But choose. Her eyes flicker, silver, then something deeper, something ancient threatening to eclipse her entirely. For one suspended second, the world narrows to that choice. Power without restraint. Or power anchored by something fragile and dangerous, connection. The final chain below snaps. The entity beneath the shrine rises in a column of black flame. And she screams, not in fear, not in surrender, but in refusal. Silver fire erupts from her core, not wild this time, but focused, driven downward, not outward. She channels it into the fissure itself, forcing the darkness back instead of letting it climb through her. The impact detonates in blinding light. Stone fuses. Runes sear permanently into the earth. The rising shadow shrieks as it's crushed back into its prison, sealed not by ancient wards, but by her will. When the light finally collapses inward, the courtyard is silent except for the crackle of dying embers. She stands there, no longer a towering wolf of molten flame. Just herself. Breathing hard. Smoke curling from her skin. The shrine lies resealed, but changed. The runes now glow faintly silver, responding to her presence like a heartbeat sinking to its source. The pack stares. Not at a weapon. Not at a prophecy. At a force that chose not to destroy them. The alpha sways, blood loss finally claiming its due. She catches him before he hits the ground. Their eyes meet again, no council, no elders, no rival voices left between them. The greater threat sleeps beneath their feet. But it knows her now. And it will not remain silent forever. Smoke thins into fragile ribbons that drift above the ruined courtyard. Ash settles softly against shattered stone, against bowed heads, against the faint silver glow still pulsing beneath the earth. The estate stands scarred but standing. The seal holds. For now. No one speaks. The pack kneels, not out of terror, not compelled by dominance, but in something quieter. Recognition. They watched her refuse destruction, when it would have been easier to let the world burn. They felt the ground split and chose to stay. Or replaces fear. She remained still at the center of it all, one hand braced against the alpha's chest to steady him. His blood stains her fingers. Her power hums faintly under her skin, restrained but not diminished. The mark at her shoulder glows like a banked ember. She feels their stares. Not as pressure. As weight. Expectation presses differently than chains ever did. The alpha shifts carefully, ignoring the protest of torn muscle and fractured pride. He straightens despite the tremor in his legs. Slowly, deliberately, he steps away from her support. And then he lowers himself to one knee. The courtyard inhales as one. He does not bow his head to the ground. He does not offer fealty. He kneels in front of her, eyes level with hers. Not as ruler. As equal. The gesture is quieter than any proclamation, heavier than any claim he could have made beneath a ritual moon. There is no counsel now. No elder voice to twist his hesitation. No prophecy to shield him from choice. Only her. The silver light beneath the earth flickers once, as if listening. She studies him with a gaze stripped bare of innocence. The girl who once asked why has burned away. What stands in her place is not colder, but clearer. Power carved truth into her bones tonight. It showed her who would bind her, who would fear her, who would weaponize her. And who would kneel. Her voice, when it comes, is steady. Would you have chosen me, if there were no prophecy? The question isn't fragile. It doesn't tremble. It cuts. It slices through the memory of the forest. Through the moment of hesitation beneath the ritual moon. Through the single second that shattered trust. If there had been no mark. No legend. No whispered warning that she would destroy the alpha who bound her. Would he have stepped forward anyway? Silence stretches. The pack waits, but this answer is not for them. His jaw tightens, not in defensiveness, but in restraint. He doesn't look to the elders. He doesn't glance at the silver-glowing shrine. He doesn't search for a safe version of truth. I did, he says. No grand speech. No vow shouted to the sky. Just that. He had chosen her in the forest when he wrapped his coat around her shaking shoulders. He had chosen her when he bled shielding a child instead of chasing control. He had chosen her when he reached into fire that could have burned him to ash. Prophecy never forced his hand. Fear almost did. But not fate. Her breath catches, barely perceptible. The ember at her shoulder dims another shade, responding to something softer than power. Around them, wolves begin to rise, not in defiance, not in dismissal, but in quiet acceptance. They witnessed her power. They witnessed his choice. The old order fractured tonight. Not destroyed. Changed. Wind moves through the courtyard, carrying away the last strands of smoke. Moonlight spills clean and unbroken over the ruins. It touches her hair. It catches in his eyes. The seal beneath the estate pulses faintly, a reminder that something ancient still waits in the dark. The threat is not gone. It is watching. And it knows her name. She steps closer to him, closing the last inches of distance that once felt impossible to cross. The space between them no longer hums with tension born of suspicion. It hums with something sharper. Decision. If I burn again, she whispers, not as warning but as truth, I won't be caged. His hand lifts, hesitant only for a fraction of a heartbeat before resting over hers. Then we burn on our terms. Not to destroy. Not to dominate. But to stand. The moon bears witness. The pack watches. The earth, newly sealed, lies restless beneath their feet. This is not an ending. It is a line drawn in fire. And now. A question lingers in the quiet that follows. If you had stood in that courtyard tonight. If you had seen the silver lightning tear the sky open. If you had felt the ground split beneath your own feet. Would you have chosen her? Or would you have feared the fire? Because loving her was never about safety. It was about stepping forward when the world told you to step back. It was about kneeling not in submission, but in recognition of power that refused to be sacrificed. So tell me. If her flame burned in your chest tonight, if you felt it spark beneath your ribs when she refused to become their weapon. Stay. Choose her side. Subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories, where we don't chase safe love, we chase destiny written in claw marks and starlight. And if you're still here, still listening, but not subscribed, tell me in the comments. Are you afraid of the fire too? Fire. The moon is low now, its silver light gentle over the ruined courtyard, but the calm is deceptive. Smoke curls lazily from scorched stone, drifting like the memory of what just happened. Wolves stir uneasily, scenting the aftermath of fire and power, their breaths misting in the cold night air. She stands beside him, fingers brushing his arm, grounding herself, but the ember of tension never fully fades. The alpha, blooded but steady, keeps his gaze on her. He's alive. He's here. And yet the quiet feels fragile, like frost over deep water, one wrong step, one ripple, and everything could shatter. Then the ground beneath their feet trembles faintly, almost imperceptible. A hairline crack races along the courtyard stones, splitting the runes they thought were finally asleep. A subtle glow emerges, silver at first, then flickering with a strange, violet hue. The earth hums low, a vibration that runs through bone and claw, through the chest and the wolf beneath her skin. From the depths of the shrine beneath the estate, a whisper rises, not human, not entirely wolf. It coils around the courtyard, curling into ears, hearts, and minds. She is not the only flame. The words make the hair on her neck rise. A second mark ignites deep below, pulsing with an energy older than the prophecy she carries. She swallows hard, feeling a thrill of fear and anticipation surge through her veins. Her wolf stirs restlessly beneath the surface, sensing the presence of another, something powerful, untamed, waiting. She looks to the alpha. His eyes, gold and steady, flick to the fisher. Recognition passes between them without words. This is bigger than them. Bigger than the rival alpha. Bigger than any pack squabble. The warning in the whisper is clear. There is another, someone, or something, whose arrival will test everything they thought they understood about power, loyalty, and destiny. The wind shifts suddenly, carrying with it scents unfamiliar and predatory. She catches the faint tang of blood, smoke, and something metallic, something alive. Her claws dig lightly into stone, reflexive, the silver fire in her veins coiling instinctively. He steps closer, hand brushing hers, grounding, tethering her to the present. But even together, the weight of the unseen threat presses down. Miles away, far to the north, jagged mountains rise against the pale sky. Snow covers their peaks, glinting faintly under the moonlight. In the highest crag, a shadow stirs. Eyes open. Crimson. Piercing. Alive. They sweep across the icy landscape, sharp and calculating, unblinking. A predator awake, a ruler yet to claim his throne. The true alpha hasn't risen, yet, a voice echoes, carried by wind and whisper alike, both cruel and prophetic. Back at the estate, she senses it too, the shift in the air, the tremor beneath the earth, the pulse of power that mirrors her own. Her pulse quickens, silver fire flickering stronger, hotter. The ground beneath the shrine groans. Smoke rises from deeper cracks. There's no denying it now, their battle, their choices, their survival, none of it has been the real beginning. It was preparation. The bed. The ritual. The fire. All of it was merely the first move in a larger game already in motion. He looks at her, breath shallow from exertion, eyes darkened by battle, blood, and emotion. She meets his gaze, understanding passing between them without a single word. This isn't over. The night, the prophecy, the enemies, they've only revealed the opening act. The true test is coming. And it will demand everything from her. Her silver fire flickers against the darkness, illuminating scorched earth, shattered stone, and stunned pack members. It pulses, rhythmically, like a heartbeat that belongs both to her and to something far older. The energy hums, almost sentient, vibrating along the courtyard stones, curling toward the fissure that still glows faintly beneath. The ancestral whispers, now softer but insistent, stir her senses. Prepare. Claim your power. Watch for the other. She inhales deeply. Snow crunches underfoot. Wind cuts through the broken courtyard like a knife. She lifts her chin, shoulders straight, wolf coiling inside, ready. Not broken. Not afraid. Not finished. The alpha mirrors her stance. A silent promise passes between them, we face this together. But the shadows deepen beneath the estate. Something ancient waits. Something cunning. Something that will not tolerate hesitation. The silver veins of the shrine pulse again, stronger, more urgent, as if sensing that she alone, has opened the first gate. And then, from the fissure below, the low rumble begins. Not just earth, but voice. Old. Patient. Watching. Judging. The bed was only the beginning, the whisper coils through the night. Everything else was the plan. She clenches her fists. Her wolf growls deep in her chest. The fire inside her responds, ready, furious, alive. The horizon trembles. The estate quivers as if aware of the threat looming beneath. And far to the north, the crimson eyes stare, unblinking, calculating, and patient, waiting for the moment to rise. The wind whistles through the broken courtyard. Snow drifts lazily back onto charred stone. But the silence now carries weight, heavier than any prophecy, louder than any council decree. This isn't over. It's only just begun. And somewhere, deep beneath the earth, and high among the northern peaks, two flames wait, one claimed, one hidden, both destined to collide.